Welcome back to Undercover Mysteries. Today, we follow two of the most horrifying caving stories that we covered on our channel. Stay tuned, and as always, viewer discretion is advised.
Cenote Calima sits deep in the Tulum jungle and leads directly into Sac Actun, one of the longest underwater cave systems on the planet. From the surface, it looks small and quiet, but once you descend, it opens into a dense network of passages lined with some of the most detailed formations in Mexico. The water is clear, the depth stays shallow, and the cave is packed with stalactites, columns, and tight swim-throughs that make it a favorite spot for experienced cave divers. What makes Calima stand out is how quickly it shifts from calm to demanding. The routes are narrow, visibility can drop instantly if silt is disturbed, and navigation depends entirely on following a precise guideline. There are no shortcuts, no alternate exits, and no space for confusion. Even small mistakes here can become serious very fast. In 2018, Calima gained global attention after a double fatality incident involving two certified divers. They entered the system but never returned, and the investigation showed how a combination of disorientation and poor line management can turn a controlled dive into a fatal one. The event reinforced Calima's reputation, beautiful but absolutely unforgiving. Yet divers still consider it one of the most stunning sections of Sac Actun. Its formations are unusually dense, the chambers feel untouched, and the cave provides a rare look into thousands of years of geological history. For many divers, Calima represents both the best and the most challenging parts of cave exploration. On a December morning in 2004, a group of 9 divers gathered for what they believed would be a smooth exploration dive inside the Calima route of the vast Sac Actun system. These weren't beginners. They were trained, experienced, and comfortable diving as a team. Many of them had explored overhead environments before, building trust and communication that made them feel confident stepping into another extended cave dive. Their plan was simple and structured. The group would split into 2 teams. Team A, led by the most experienced diver, would enter first. Their job was to lay temporary markers, cookies, at critical intersections so Team B, entering shortly after, could follow the same route and return using those markers. Team A entered the water first. They moved steadily, following the permanent guideline deeper into the system. When they reached the first intersection point, the lead diver attached a bright yellow cookie marking the correct direction for Team B. Everything was going to plan. They continued forward, placing another marker at the next decision point before completing their part of the dive. After finishing, Team A began heading back toward the surface. Believing no one was behind them at that moment, they removed the temporary cookies they had placed, assuming the dive was over for everyone. But it wasn't. Meanwhile, Team B entered the water. They followed the path toward the first intersection and saw the yellow marker left by Team A. It confirmed they were on the correct route. But at the second intersection, the critical one, they made the mistake that would define the entire dive. Instead of making the right turn leading toward the exit, they turned left, heading deeper into the cave. The wrong tunnel looked familiar. It aligned with the direction they expected to go, and cave markers elsewhere in the system pointed in that general direction, creating a false sense of security. For the next 25 minutes, Team B swam confidently, unaware they were traveling nearly 1,400 feet in the wrong direction. But eventually, things didn't feel right. Landmarks looked unfamiliar, and the sense of the dive's rhythm shifted. The divers slowed. Their movements became less synchronized. Confusion grew. Then, silt began lifting from the floor and ceiling as tension crept in. Fine particles filled the water, turning what was once clear visibility into a dull, milky haze. The divers realized something was wrong, but by then, they had no idea where they were. Back at the surface, Team A exited the cave. Because they believed Team B was already out or behind them, they removed the cookies they had placed earlier. By the time they realized Team B hadn't surfaced, those markers were already gone. Deep inside, Team B reached yet another intersection and stopped to reassess. The uneasy silence said more than words could. One diver unspooled a search line, hoping to locate a permanent guideline leading toward the exit. But the reel led only into rock, then a dead end.
No line, no marker, no orientation. They were now lost in every sense of the word. Air consumption increased rapidly. The divers split into two pairs and attempted to maximize their chances. The lead pair pushed forward, hoping to relocate the correct intersection. When they finally reached the spot where they had made the wrong turn earlier, they expected to see the yellow cookie Team A had left, but it was gone, removed. The final breadcrumb meant to lead them home was no longer there.
At the surface, time had run out. Team A realized that Team B was overdue, badly overdue. Grabbing spare tanks and emergency gear, they re-entered the water for a rescue attempt, swimming urgently toward the system's interior. Just 250 feet from the surface, they found the first pair from Team B. Both divers were barely conscious, their tanks almost empty. They had somehow managed to claw their way back toward the exit, despite exhaustion, zero visibility, and escalating panic. When rescuers asked about the second pair, the surviving divers said they had seen their lights somewhere behind them, but lost contact not long after. The rescuers turned and swam deeper. A short distance later, their flashlights revealed the second pair. Both divers were suspended near the cave's ceiling, motionless. Their regulators floated beside them. When checked, their tanks showed zero pressure. They had suffocated in the final stretch of their search for daylight. The 2004 Kimba incident remains one of the clearest examples of how overhead environments punish even small mistakes and how experience alone cannot override the unforgiving nature of cave diving. The tragedy at Cenote Calima unfolded because the environment demanded absolute precision, and the divers entered one of the system's tightest, most unforgiving passages, where even small movements can trigger a silt-out. As the visibility collapsed, they became trapped in restrictions that allowed almost no room to turn, rise, or reposition. In such confined spaces, once the silt lifts, the guideline becomes difficult to locate by touch alone, especially under stress. The narrowing tunnels, the fragile silt layer, and the absence of maneuvering space created a situation where the divers were overwhelmed faster than they could recover control. This dive could have been safer with a stricter assessment of the passage difficulty, clearer turn pressures, and a more conservative penetration distance. Narrow cave systems like Calima require impeccable buoyancy, minimal fin movement, and gear streamlined to avoid any contact with the floor or ceiling. A more restrictive dive plan, limiting entry into extreme restrictions, would have provided a wider margin of safety. Additional guideline markers, coordinated team positioning, and maintaining extra distance from high silt zones could have also reduced risk. March 27, 1982, Sergeant Donald Wellner, a 48-year-old New Jersey State Police veteran, was in his element. He wasn't just a police officer, he was a seasoned spelunker, a man who understood the silent, subterranean world. He was leading an expedition into Crooked Swamp Cave, the longest cave system in New Jersey. With him were 12 Boy Scouts, 2 of them his own sons, aged 12 and 14. Another scoutmaster, Jim Ewing, was there to help manage the group. For Wellner, this was routine. He'd guided countless trips like this. He respected the risks, taught the safety procedures, and knew how to navigate the dark. But the earth beneath our feet operates on a timescale far older than any human experience. It follows rules of physics that are absolute and unforgiving. Inside the cave, the expedition was a success. The boys navigated the established routes, their flashlight beams dancing across ancient walls. It was a world of stone and shadow, a perfect classroom for lessons in courage and exploration. Then he saw it. A sliver of darkness that wasn't on any map. A passage, no bigger than the torso of a man, promising the unknown. For a true explorer, the call of a virgin cave, a place untouched by human eyes, is nearly impossible to resist. This is the core of spelunking, the chance to be the first. This wasn't a reckless impulse. Wellner was a professional. He assessed the opening. The rock seemed solid. The passage, while tight, appeared manageable for someone with his skill. He made a calculated decision. He would go in alone for a quick look. It was a decision that, in any other cave, on any other day, might have led to a new discovery. But not here. Not today. He entered the passage on his stomach, moving in a classic caver's crawl. Pushing with his toes, pulling with his hands. The rock was cold and unforgiving against his body. This kind of passage is called a squeeze, and it is one of the most hazardous situations in caving. Your mobility is almost zero. Your ability to react is gone. 17 feet in, his progress halted. A limestone boulder was jammed in the passage ahead. The logical move was to retreat, to back out slowly and carefully. But perhaps he thought he could shift it. Maybe there was a way around it he couldn't quite see. He gave the rock a push, and the boulder moved. But it didn't move out of the way. It settled. The geology of the passage had formed a natural mechanical trap. The boulder was a keystone. When it shifted, it didn't fall. It reset the geometry of the entire lock. The pressure in front of him eased for a moment, allowing him to inch forward. But when he tried to pull himself back, the mechanism engaged. The boulder pivoted, turning the passage into a stone vise. It was a one-way gate. Any attempt to retreat caused the rock to bite down harder, pinning him with incredible force. He was trapped 17 feet from his sons, in a space so tight he could barely expand his chest to breathe. He was caught in a stone ratchet.
As an experienced caver, Donald Wellner would have understood the lethality of his situation instantly. Panic is the enemy underground, but the physics were undeniable. He was pinned. His sons and the other scoutmaster tried desperately to pull him by his legs, but every tug only made the trap grip him tighter. The unforgiving geometry of the situation worked against them. For hours they struggled, but it was no use. They made the heart-wrenching choice to leave him and get help. It was the only choice. It was his only chance. When the first responders arrived at Crooked Swamp Cave, the scene was chaotic. They were facing a nightmare scenario for any cave rescue team. The victim was deep inside a narrow, unstable passage. A straight pull was impossible. It would only crush him. They couldn't get to him from the front. They would have to go through the rock itself. The site transformed into a quagmire of mud and machinery. Generators roared day and night. Dozens of volunteers and professionals cycled through, driven by the slimmest of hopes. They were in a war against geology, a battle against time they had already lost. Late Tuesday night, they finally broke through, but there was no victory. 20 minutes before his body was recovered, Donald Wellner was officially pronounced dead. The coroner later estimated he had likely passed away sometime on Sunday, meaning the massive rescue effort had, for nearly 2.5 days, been a recovery. Once he was free, the brutal efficiency of the trap was laid bare. The keystone boulder, stained with his blood, had performed exactly as a mechanical vise would. Every instinct to save himself, to pull back, to retreat, was the very motion that sealed his fate. Going forward might have loosened it, but forward meant deeper into an unmapped blackness with no known exit. There was never a good choice. There was never a way out. The death of Donald Wellner serves as a stark reminder of the inherent dangers of exploration. He was not careless. He was not inexperienced. He was a highly trained professional who made a calculated risk that went catastrophically wrong. Subterranean environments, whether in a complex cave rescue or a deep cave diving disaster, are uniquely hostile. They are not our world. He was a man who loved the silent world beneath the earth. And in the end, it was that world, in a moment of terrible geological coincidence, that held him and would not let him go.